Ryan Carter's hand was on the handle when the hallway light flickered. He pushed, thinking Conference B. Printouts. Don't be late, and the door opened into quiet music and warm air. Vivian Hart stood half-turned, a silk blouse in her hands. For one impossible second, she wasn't the billionaire CEO on every screen, just a woman caught mid-breath. Ryan froze. The folder slipped, its edge biting his palm. Instinct screamed, "Apologize, vanish, survive." Vivian's eyes snapped to him. No scream, no scramble. Just stillness sharp enough to cut. "Close the door," she said. He did, too fast. Outside, his heart hammered as he read the plaque. Executive dressing room. A wrong door. A wrong second. The right person. In a building made of glass, how much could one mistake destroy or transform? 2 hours earlier, Ryan wrestled his apartment door open with his shoulder, balancing groceries and Emma's backpack. The hallway smelled like laundry soap and burnt toast. Inside, cramped warmth, a tiny kitchen, a couch that had lost its shape. Emma's drawings taped like a child's museum. Emma sat on the rug coloring. "Daddy, your watch is yelling. It buzzed daycare drop-off, shift start, bill autopay." "It's not yelling," he lied, zipping her jacket. The zipper snagged. It always did. Irritation flared, then died under exhaustion. A bank letter waited on the counter. He flipped it face down without opening it. 2 years ago, Lauren had left with one text and one closing door. The emptiness stayed. Emma held up a drawing. A tall building with 100 windows and a tiny stick figure at the bottom. "That's you," she said. "At your big glass work. I'm very small." "You're not small," Emma said, serious. "You're just far, far invisible." Ryan grabbed his keys and stepped into another day that wouldn't slow down for him. After the wrong door, time moved oddly. Ryan sat at his operations desk, hands performing tasks he'd done 1,000 times. The air felt thin, like everyone could smell what happened, even if no one said it. At 11:07, a message popped up. "Executive Admin, please report to Floor 50. Immediately." Floor 50 wasn't a place you visited unless you were important or in trouble. Sometimes both. The elevator climbed in silence. On the executive floor, marble, glass, and quiet that sounded expensive. "Mr. Carter," the receptionist said, "Ms. Hart is expecting you." Expecting like this was a meeting, not a reckoning. Vivian Hart sat behind a dark desk, immaculate and controlled. Grant Whitaker stood near the window, hands behind his back. SVP of Operations. Board favorite. Smile polished like a weapon. Vivian didn't invite Ryan to sit. "Mr. Carter," she said. "You entered a restricted room this morning." Ryan swallowed. "Yes, ma'am." "I thought it was Conference B. I'm sorry." Grant's tone was gentle. "Security protocol exists for a reason. Mistakes become liabilities." Ryan forced himself to breathe, thinking of Emma, rent, and the fragile stability he'd built with bare hands. "If you need to terminate me." "No," Vivian said. Grant blinked once. Vivian stood. "I reviewed your performance metrics. Your error rate is among the lowest. Your turnaround exceeds target. And your Q3 vendor workaround prevented a shutdown." Ryan stared. He'd done those things quietly because being noticed felt like danger. "I'm assigning you to an executive oversight project," Vivian said. "Directly under my office." Grant's voice sharpened. "Vivian, it's decided," Ryan's heart thudded. "With respect." "Why?" Vivian's gaze held him, unblinking. "Because you've been invisible here," she said. "And invisible people are useful. Until someone realizes they've been carrying the building." Grant watched Ryan like he was already drafting a story the board would love. When Ryan left, the executive door closed behind him with quiet finality. Now he wasn't invisible. And he couldn't tell if that was a gift or a sentence. The promotion came with a new badge and a new kind of air. Ryan's desk moved near the executive corridor. Thicker carpet, quieter walls. Better coffee, somehow more suspicious. Vivian led meetings like a blade. Precise, cold, clean. Ryan learned to predict questions before they landed, learned to speak only when necessary. Update the risk matrix. Cross-check the forecast. Pull staffing efficiency. Now, he worked through lunch. Answered emails at red lights. His watch buzzed like a warning he couldn't mute. One afternoon, an all-company email hit his inbox. Mandatory. Code of Conduct and Conflict of Interest refresher. Completion required. Ryan opened it, skimmed headings, relationships, reporting lines, disclosure, documentation, then minimized it. Not because he didn't care. Because he didn't have time. Still, Vivian didn't always match the myth. Once, she steadied a janitor's bin lid before it slammed. No expression change, just a small act, private as breath. Another day, Ryan arrived with corrected numbers and found Vivian alone, phone pressed to her ear. "Yes, Mother," she said quietly. "I care what the board thinks." A pause. "And yes, the donors will notice." Ryan tried to disappear. Vivian turned and saw him, embarrassment flickering and vanishing. "Call you back," she said, mask on. "What is it, Mr. Carter?" "The staffing numbers. There was a formula issue." She took the folder. Fingers brushed his brief contact. "Good catch." 2 words. Rare praise. In the elevator, Ryan realized his hands were shaking. Being close to power wasn't the same as being safe. And being close to her wasn't the same as being allowed. Friday night, the building emptied in layers. Ryan stayed for deadlines. Vivian stayed because she didn't seem to know how to leave. At 9:12 p.m., the executive floor was almost silent. Ryan walked past Vivian's office to deliver a summary. The door was ajar. Inside, Vivian poured water. Her heels were off. Bare feet on cold tile, a small detail that made her briefly human. "Come in," she said without looking up. She handed him a glass without explanation. Not CEO behavior. Just a person noticing another person still standing. "You have a daughter," Vivian said. "Yes, Emma. She's 6. Your file mentioned it? My file?" "I review everything," Vivian said. "It's how I stay alive in this role. Alive, not admired. Not loved. Alive." She looked past him to the city. "And compliance reads everything too," she added, flat as weather. "Even when people pretend it's paperwork." A chill moved through Ryan. "She's my reason for everything," he admitted. Vivian looked at him, really looked. "And her mother?" Pain rose by reflex. She left. 2 years ago. Something in Vivian's gaze sharpened recognition, not pity. "I see," she said softly. Ryan cleared his throat. "I should go." "Daycare charges late fees." "Of course." As he turned, Vivian said, "Mr. Carter." He paused. "This promotion puts you in a difficult position. So does being fired." Vivian held his gaze. "Yes." Ryan walked out feeling like he'd stepped into a corridor with no clear exit. And the worst part was, he wasn't sure he wanted one. The midpoint arrived on an ordinary Tuesday, disguised as routine. Ryan presented supply chain risk projections to Vivian and 2 heads. His voice stayed even. Calm was a uniform he wore daily. His watch buzzed once, twice. He ignored it. A third buzz longer. Not a reminder. An alarm. Vivian's eyes flicked to his wrist. Pause. Ryan stepped into the hallway and answered. "Mr. Carter? Emma's still here. We close at 6. It's 6:40. The world narrowed. He pictured Emma sitting small, brave, trying not to cry because she didn't want to be a problem. "I'm coming," he said, already moving. When he turned, Vivian stood behind him. She'd followed quietly. "What happened?" she asked, shame burned. "I lost track. Meeting ran long." "Emma's still at daycare." "How far?" 25 minutes. Maybe more with traffic. Decision crossed Vivian's face like a shadow. Give me your keys. Ma'am, Ryan, she corrected. First time. Now, he handed them over. Fingers brushed cold, steady. Outside, her car waited. The driver opened the door. Vivian waved him off. I'll drive, Ms. Hart, now. She drove with controlled aggression, no wasted movement. Ryan watched her profile focused, present. At daycare, irritation turned into stunned politeness when Vivian stepped out of the car. Emma stood by the door clutching her backpack. Eyes red but dry. Daddy, she whispered. Ryan knelt and pulled her close. I'm so sorry, Em. Emma looked at Vivian. Curiosity replacing hurt, just a little. Vivian crouched slightly, stiff as if her body didn't know this posture. Hello, Emma, Vivian said. Emma stared. You're very tall. Vivian's mouth twitched. So I'm told. Is she your boss? Emma asked. Ryan's throat tightened. Vivian answered calmly. Yes. And today I'm also your ride, Emma considered. Okay. In the car, Emma fell asleep within minutes. Ryan stared at Vivian's hands on the wheel hands that controlled companies, now controlling a route home. You didn't have to, he said. Vivian didn't look at him. You keep showing up. Every day. Exhausted. Quiet. Doing what needs doing. Her voice tightened. I know what it looks like when someone leaves you holding everything. The words landed deep too personal to be harmless. Ryan realized the most dangerous thing wasn't scandal. It was how safe Emma looked in the back seat. Vivian didn't come inside that first night. She walked Ryan to the entrance, lobby light dim and forgiving. Her eyes tracked chipped paint, old mailboxes, narrow stairs. This is where you live, she said, registering, not judging. It's enough, Ryan said. Vivian looked at Emma's sleeping face. Something shifted control meeting something it couldn't command. Good night, Vivian said quietly. Thank you. Don't thank me for doing what should have happened anyway, she replied. Inside, Ryan laid Emma in bed among cheap stuffed animals and crayon drawings. One drawing showed a door with a bright yellow knob. His phone buzzed. Vivian, did she fall asleep? Ryan, yes. Thank you again, Vivian. Maybe it wasn't a mistake. Ryan stared at the apartment door locked, scratched, real. Maybe doors weren't only errors. Maybe some opened because you needed to step through. It began with practical excuses. Vivian needed Ryan late. Ryan couldn't afford a babysitter. I'll order food, Vivian said, clipped as logistics. Emma eats plain, Ryan said. No spice. Noted. An hour later, Vivian stood outside his apartment with takeout and sparkling water. Emma ran and wearing starry pajama pants, stopped short when she saw Vivian. You came, Emma said bluntly. Yes, Vivian said, posture tight. Emma pointed at the drawings. That's my museum. Vivian looked pausing at the drawing of the building and tiny figure. Is that your father? Vivian asked. He's far, Emma said. Ryan's throat tightened. They ate at the small table. Emma talked about school. Vivian listened like she was learning a language. Later, Emma shoved a picture book into Vivian's hands. Read. Vivian hesitated, then glanced at Ryan. He nodded. Vivian read in a low, smooth voice. She stumbled once. Emma corrected her like a tiny boss. When Emma fell asleep on the couch, Vivian didn't move for a moment, as if afraid that if she shifted, the whole scene would break. You're good with her, Ryan whispered. I'm not good with anyone, Vivian said, eyes on the child. You are right now. Vivian looked at him, mask thinner. I shouldn't be here. Then why are you? Her breath caught. Because when I'm here, the building is not the only thing that needs me. Ryan walked her to the door. Her hand rested on the knob threshold, symbol, warning. What happened that morning? Vivian began. The door, Ryan finished. Maybe it wasn't an error, he said. Vivian's hand tightened. For a second, she looked like someone about to step through without armor. Then she opened the door and left, the hallway swallowing her like a secret. The next morning, Ryan woke before his alarm. Emma's hair was a wild halo. She blinked up at him like she didn't want to let the dream go. At work, Ryan's eyes burned. His body moved on habit while his mind stayed half at the daycare door, half at Vivian's awkward crouch, half at the boardroom skyline. 3 halves. None enough. A supplier performance deck hit his inbox marked urgent. Vivian needed it before noon. Ryan pulled the workbook. Updated the top line number. He didn't notice the tab. He didn't notice the reference. He didn't notice the silent mistake a tired man makes when he's trying to be everywhere at once. At 11:43, the deck went out. At 11:49, Vivian's assistant called, voice tight. Mr. Carter, Ms. Hart needs you. Now. In Vivian's office, glass walls felt sharper. Vivian didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. This is last quarter's base, she said, tapping the page. Not current. Ryan stared at the number like it could apologize for him. It's my fault, he said quietly. I moved too fast. A department head stood there too, arms crossed. The look was clear. He can't handle this level. Fix it, Vivian said. Resend. Document the correction in the thread. Clear. Yes. In the hallway, Ryan caught the assistant's glance, sympathy mixed with caution. His watch buzzed. Not a reminder, a warning. He opened the minimized code of conduct email again, relationships, reporting lines, disclosure, documentation. He didn't minimize it this time. He read it like a man reading the fine print of a trap. Grant Whitaker didn't need proof. He needed patterns. He lingered near Vivian's office, concern disguised as professionalism. Your oversight project is consuming resources, he said, eyes on Ryan. Is Mr. Carter necessary at that level? Yes, Vivian said, flat. Grant smiled. Of course. Later, he found Ryan alone in the executive kitchen, pouring cheap coffee into an expensive cup. You've been moving fast, Grant said lightly. It's Ms. Hart's direction. Grant's eyes sharpened. Vivian is intense. People get close and forget where the lines are. I'm focused on the work. Good. Because the board is focused too, especially on optics. Grant's gaze drifted, casual. I heard there was a correction yesterday, he added softly. Ryan's pulse tightened. I fixed it. Grant nodded like he was praising a child for cleaning a spill. Everyone makes mistakes, he said. The question is whether they're allowed to. The next week, an audit request landed in Ryan's inbox. Sudden, unusual. Badge logs. Meeting attendance. Access history. Invisible had been safer. But invisible wouldn't protect Vivian. And it wouldn't protect Emma from becoming collateral. The calendar invite looked harmless. HR compliance check-in. 15 minutes. No agenda. No context. That was the context. Ryan sat across from a woman with a calm smile and a tablet. We're doing a routine review related to after-hours access, she said. Because you now work near executive areas, your access patterns triggered an automatic review. Automatic. Like it wasn't personal. Ryan kept his face neutral. I can provide documentation. First, a reminder. Restricted areas are restricted, regardless of intent. Ryan saw a silk blouse, warm air, Vivian's voice. Close the door. She slid a single page across the table. Written warning. Security protocol deviation. Conditional access restriction. Effective immediately. His throat tightened. Deviation? You entered a restricted room, she said. You also have recurring after-hours access. Approved or not, it requires controls. So what happens now? For 30 days, your access to certain executive data rooms will be limited, she said. You can request access through your manager's office with a documented business reason. No exceptions. That wasn't a slap. It was a collar. And, she added, eyes still on the tablet, we did receive an anonymous concern regarding proximity to executive leadership. Ryan's blood cooled. This is not an accusation, she said carefully. It's a reminder. Perception creates risk. The company expects professionalism and appropriate boundaries. Documentation protects everyone. Boundaries. The word sounded like a wall being built brick by brick between him and the only person who'd made him feel seen. Ryan left with the memo folded in his pocket like something poisonous. The final test arrived wrapped in polite language. Special board review, project oversight, and operational efficiency. Mandatory attendance. Grant's name sat on the invite like a signature. Vivian briefed Ryan the night before. They'll challenge metrics, imply manipulation, try to provoke emotion. I can do calm, Ryan said. I know you can, Vivian replied. Later, Ryan built the proof package like armor. Logs, timestamps, approvals, email trails, fraud flags. He saved it to the executive data room and froze. Access denied. Restricted by compliance controls. Request required. 30 days, HR had said. Grant would know. Of course he would know. Ryan submitted an access request through the proper channel, attaching justification for the board review. Then he created a second package sealed and emailed it to compliance and legal. Board review. Support documents time-sensitive, sealed attachment, at least it would exist. The next morning, Ryan dropped Emma at daycare. She touched his cheek. Don't be far, she said. I'll try. The boardroom sat higher than Vivian's office, as if authority needed altitude. Glass, polished wood. Skyline like a stage set. Vivian presented gains, efficiency, risk reduction, fulfillment improvements. Then the question sharpened. Why was Mr. Carter promoted so quickly? What qualifies an operations analyst for executive oversight? Why do his logs show after-hours access to executive floors? Vivian answered crisply. Controlled. Grant leaned forward, voice smooth. Perception matters. You centralized oversight in one junior employee. It creates vulnerability. A board member added, We've received an anonymous complaint about inappropriate proximity. The room cooled. Vivian's fingers tightened on the clicker, just a fraction. Grant continued, gentle as poison. Perhaps we should reassign Mr. Carter back to operations. Reduce risk. Ryan felt the old reflex. Vanish, survive, be small. But small didn't keep Emma safe. May I respond? Ryan asked. A nod. Ryan stood. Calm, no pleading. I understand concerns about optics, he said. So I'll speak only to performance. He showed charts and outcomes. The fraud attempt he flagged. The reroute that avoided a multi-million-dollar loss. Staffing changes that reduced overtime without layoffs. My after-hours access aligns with deadlines and documented executive requests, Ryan said. You can cross-check meeting schedules and email trails. The chair leaned back slightly. Show the audit log set. Ryan's heart stuttered once. This was the moment Grant had built. Ryan clicked into the data room. Access denied. A small message on a big screen. Silence thickened. Someone cleared their throat. Grant's eyebrows lifted, innocent as a question. Vivian's gaze flicked to Ryan sharp, controlled, something underneath. Ryan didn't look at Grant. He looked at the chair. My access to certain executive data rooms was restricted by compliance controls pending review, Ryan said evenly. I followed protocol. I submitted an access request and provided a sealed support package to compliance and legal for this meeting. A pause. Restricted? Why? A board member asked. Heat crawled up Ryan's neck. He stopped it with breath. Because I entered a restricted room by mistake on my first day under executive assignment, he said. And because after-hours access triggers automated controls. I was issued a written warning and temporary restrictions. The controls are not proof of misconduct. They are governance. Vivian's fingers relaxed on the clicker. Not much, but enough. Grant's smile held his eyes tightened for a breath. The chair turned slightly. Is compliance on the call? A speaker light blinked. A voice came through, flat and professional. This is compliance. We received Mr. Carter's sealed packet yesterday. Verified timestamps. Verified approvals. Documents are consistent with the presentation. The room shifted. Ryan opened the sealed email thread on screen. Not the restricted room. The proof clean and unavoidable. If the question is whether I can do the work, Ryan said softly, these results answer it. Silence held. And the complaint? Someone asked. Ryan kept his voice measured. I can't speak to anonymous motives, he said. I can speak to boundaries. I've followed policy. I've documented interactions. I'm here to do my job and go home to my daughter. The word daughter landed like a human fingerprint. After quiet discussion, the chair spoke. Mr. Carter stays. Efficiency metrics stand. We will add oversight protocols. Grant's jaw tightened for half a second. Then the smile returned. As the meeting ended, Grant approached Ryan. You did well, he murmured. For now? For good reasons, Ryan replied. Doors swing both ways, Grant said, and walked away. They'd won the room, but winning wasn't the same as being free. That night, Vivian came to Ryan's office instead of summoning him. She closed the door gently, like she was practicing care. You were calm, she said. You told me to be. Grant wanted you emotional, sloppy. He wanted me disposable. Not while I'm here, Vivian said. It sounded like a vow. Ryan exhaled. What happens now? Vivian stepped closer, stopping at a respectful distance. The space between them held rules, ethics, and the kind of wanting that doesn't ask permission. We do this correctly, Vivian said. If when we choose anything personal, we do it with time, policy, transparency. Ryan's jaw tightened. That's why you mentioned compliance. Vivian didn't deny it. I've watched careers end on rumors, she said. And I've watched boards pretend they're protecting the company when they're protecting themselves. And Emma? Ryan asked. Vivian's eyes softened. Emma first. What does correctly mean? It means I won't risk your stability to satisfy my loneliness, Vivian said. And I won't risk her safety because I'm tired of being alone. Loneliness said like a fact. Ryan nodded. Okay. 3 months, Vivian said. 3 months. Strict boundaries, Vivian said. We document everything. We let protocols settle. Then we disclose appropriately. We restructure reporting lines. No secrets. You're serious. I'm always serious, Vivian said. Vivian's hand lifted slightly, then stopped, restrained in motion. Go home, she said. Be with her. Ryan gathered his bag. At the door, his hand paused on the handle again. Ryan, Vivian said softly. He turned. That morning, Vivian said, voice contained, you looked at me like I was human, not an icon. Not a headline. You were human, Ryan said. Vivian nodded once. Ryan opened the door and left. This time, the door closing didn't feel like loss. It felt like restraint. Winter softened into early spring. Emma's drawings multiplied more doors, some open, some closed, some bright knobbed like tiny suns. Ryan's routine didn't get easier, but it got steadier. The watch still buzzed, but less like panic and more like rhythm. At Hart Innovations, oversight protocols became normal. Compliance controls were no longer a surprise. They were architecture. Grant's audits found nothing worth public shame. His leverage thinned, even if his smile stayed sharp. Vivian restructured Ryan's reporting line cleanly and formally. A compliance memo went out. New supervisor, no direct reporting to the CEO, no scandal, no headlines. On a Friday evening, Vivian stood outside Ryan's apartment door again. This time, no takeout as an excuse. Just a small potted plant, something green, alive, needing care. Ryan opened the door. "What's that?" "A ridiculous attempt at domesticity," Vivian said. "You're dangerous," Ryan replied, a faint smile. Vivian stepped inside and noticed Emma's newest drawing, 3 stick figures holding hands in front of a tall building. The middle one stood straighter than before. Emma ran in. "You're back." "Yes," Vivian said, crouching slightly, less stiff now. Emma pointed at the plant. "Is that food?" "Not yet," Vivian said after a blink. Emma nodded, satisfied. Later, Vivian helped Emma with a puzzle on the rug. Their heads bent close, fingers sorting pieces. Vivian's shoulders had relaxed. Ryan watched from the kitchen doorway. Vivian looked up and met his eyes. No mask. Just quiet certainty. Emma placed the final piece with a triumphant gasp. "Done!" Vivian's mouth softened into a real smile. Brief, unmistakable. "Done." Emma leaned back against Vivian like it was the most natural thing in the world. Vivian froze for half a second, then accepted the weight. Ryan felt his throat tighten. Vivian looked at him, voice low. "About our plan." "I'm still here," Ryan said. "So am I," Vivian replied. Ryan checked the lock out of habit, hand on the apartment door's knob, then paused. "Always with the doors," Vivian said quietly. Ryan looked at her, then at Emma, then at the small, messy room that finally felt like a place you could breathe. "Maybe," Ryan said, steady. "The right door is the one you stop running from." Vivian moved closer, careful, respectful, and took Ryan's hand where Emma could see it without confusion or secrecy. Emma looked up, eyes wide, then grinned like she'd solved something. Outside, the city's glass towers kept shining. Inside, among drawings and soft breathing, 3 people stayed. And the door, scarred, ordinary, real, finally stopped feeling like a mistake.